minute, and then we're going to get right into it. So as you guys learned in the notes today, this is our overview webinar on 6 formats for Splash Canyon VBS. So we're hoping to hold this webinar to about 30 minutes today, and we'll go over the base rotation and then 5 other possible schedules. So the goal for our webinar today is that you guys are going to be able to learn different ways you can host Splash Canyon VBS. We know that some of you have a huge church with lots of site rotations, lots of different options, and then we know other churches might be smaller. Maybe you have all your kids in that one rotation. How do you do that? How do you pull off the same VBS in different areas using the same starter kit? So a few housekeeping things today. As you can hopefully see on your screen there, I'm Anna Johnson. I'm the marketing manager here for Vacation Bible School. You can see my email address up on the screen there and also my phone number. Please do feel free to contact me at any time. I'm always happy to try and answer your questions or try and solve the answer. You guys are great, and I know you all work so hard to make VBS a meaningful event for kids at your church. I'm going to go through our webinar outline right now as well. So just a few things right now. If you can hear me and see my screen, that would be really helpful to know. Just send me a question over in the question box so we can make sure we're always with us at every time. If you're not able to hear me and see my screen at any time, if I go in and out, just use that question box again so we can make sure that we have everything in order and on time. Okay, so in the webinar today, we're going to do an intro to Splash Canyon. We know that some of you guys have already purchased your starter kit and some of you might be thinking about it. We're not going to go through all the lessons, so this is just going to be kind of a broad overview if you're looking to get started with Splash Canyon VBS. Then we're going to go over our base model, so that's for 3 hours and a site rotation. And then we're also going to talk about the options you have for early childhood. And then we're going to go through all these different additional models. So we'll go through one-day VBS, weekend VBS, day camp, summer Sunday school, and also mixed age groups. So what is Splash Canyon and what makes it different than some of the other VBS that's out on the market? Well, our whole statement here is that we want you guys to have a VBS with purpose, and that means we have a real theme. The Splash Canyon themes pulled directly from the Bible. All the Bible stories are water themed or river themed, and you can see our theme verse there. All the promises of God find their yes in Him, in Christ Jesus. Second to our real theme, of course, we have real Bibles. So we want kids, whether it's our traditional format or one of these abbreviated formats, to get into Splash Canyon VBS every day. We want you guys to learn how to use your Bibles, teach kids how to use their Bibles, so that even after VBS is done with, they can experience Jesus for themselves coming through His Word. And of course, we have our real Savior. Jesus was a real person. He came to this earth, lived and died in our place that we might have eternal life. So every lesson in Splash Canyon, whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, is always pointing to Jesus, our Savior, who gives us new life, who has real and true promises for us. We also want kids to have real fun, right? This is VBS. It's Vacation Bible School. We know that kids love to have fun in the summer as they learn about Jesus. So you'll see in each of our formats today, we'll emphasize the fun aspects of VBS, whether it's storytelling, games, crafts, or snacks. We hope that kids are always engaged in learning through God's Word at VBS. This is our lessons at a glance chart for the year. Going to just go through this real quick because I'll be referring to some of these lessons throughout the webinar. So day 1 lesson, God is with baby Moses in the river, and the kids will remember that God is with us. Yes, He is. Our theme verse from Exodus 3, but God said, I will be with you. Day 2, God's people enter the promised land. That's from Joshua 3 and 4. If you remember, the Israelites were wandering and they got to a river and they thought they were almost stopped. But as soon as they listened to the Lord's words, the Lord's promise spoken through Joshua, those river waters parted and they were able to walk through on dry ground. Day 3, God heals Naaman in the Jordan River. Naaman was a person who had leprosy, and God had some very special instructions for him to be made whole, to be cleansed from his leprosy. And we remember here that God is faithful. Yes, He is. When God says something, it will come true. And we think about our verse from Hebrews, let us hold fast to the confession of our hope, for he who promised is faithful. Then we move on to day 4. We skip forward to the New Testament. God saves Paul from the sea. If you remember, Paul was shipwrecked. It looked like everyone was going to die, but God had a special plan for Paul and for each of those people on the boat. God always gives us hope, even in the darkest of times. We know that he will save us, that he will bring us to eternal life. And then day 5's lesson, God's yes is Jesus. Jesus is baptized. Jesus is our Savior, in whom we find all the yes to God's promises. So one thing to really emphasize here is we're talking about different formats for Splash Canyon, is that no matter which format you use, these 5 lessons are definitely going to stay the same. We're not adjusting formats and saying, oh, well, you could do the first and the third and the 5th lesson. No, we've made these little models so that no matter how much time you have, the kids are getting these 5 lessons, these 5 stories together as they go through VBS. So let's just look quickly. This are a few graphics from the director's guide. An important thing today, if I breeze through anything too quickly or you have a question, most of the material I'm going through today is in your Splash Canyon VBS director's guide, including a lot of these helpful tips, a lot of these diagrams. So be sure to refer back there if you have any questions that I'm not able to answer today in the webinar. So here's our base model site rotation. I know one thing I was really surprised about when I came and started working at CPH is when I was going to VBS as a kid, it was more like Sunday school, right? We all sat in the same classroom, we had one teacher, and then we just went through all the stuff. We sat there 2 or 3 hours and then we went home. That is not how our VBS is scheduled today. We've taken hints from you saying you want these site models, and we've had the site model now for quite a while. So this base model, which most of you I think use or adapt for 2 or 3 hours, is set up like this. So you have your opening and closing, you have about 25 minutes there, and then you have 20 minutes for each of those sessions. So the kids start probably in the chapel, in your fellowship hall, and then the kids are the one moving from site to site while your site leaders are hanging out, given those different crafts, snacks, games, storytelling, and Bible challenge. And then here's our recommended setup for a base model. Of course, we don't know how your church building is set up, but this could be one maybe you use if you have a fellowship hall, you have opening and closing in the front, and then snacks in the back, and then each of those main sites, storytelling, crafts, and Bible challenge, and games are each in their own space. We know a lot of you also have to share space. One of the churches I visited this summer really creatively share the craft and the snack space together. So again, this is just a recommendation of one way you could set up, but we know that you guys know your church buildings way better than we ever would. Also want to point out too, if you're a large church and you have multiple sites and multiple people going through rotation groups, here's one way you could do it. So you would follow that same schedule that I showed a couple slides ago, and then just have multiple sites for these storytelling, Bible challenge, crafts. And then you'll see in this diagram here, everybody can come together for snacks, maybe in that bigger area in your church that you have. Just also want to touch briefly, the Director's Guide for Early Childhood does adapt this rotation formula, this base model for early childhood kids. We know sometimes it's a little bit harder to get those little guys around. So this early childhood base model only rotates through 3 sites, Bible story, Bible challenge, and crafts. And then the rest of them are in more of a homeroom style. So this is one option for early childhood. And then you can see here, here's another option. If you want to take your little guys all throughout the building, you can see here's another recommended way to do it so that each of the early childhood kiddos are in a different site every time. So you have 2 kind of options there. And again, this is just kind of like status quo, right out of the box. How do we use Splash Canyon? Again, here's another space setup model, pretty similar to what you saw before, except it's taking into account if early childhood did share some of those spaces. Okay, this is the real meat and bones of our presentation, and I want to focus on these different permutations, these different adaptations in the rest of our 20 minutes here today. So the first thing we're going to look at is a one-day VBS. We've been getting so many requests lately for this. Maybe you have just one Saturday where kids are going to go through VBS start to finish in that one day. This is a little bit longer, but might be easier for you if you have volunteers who can only make it one day. This would also be a great community outreach event, and we'll talk how you could do that as well too. So you have all 5 lessons in one day. Oop, I went the wrong way in my slides there. So our recommendation, if you do a one-day VBS, use all the elementary materials. Again, we have some materials that are for early childhood. We even have leaflets that are split up this year. But if you're doing one day, make sure you use just those base elementary materials. And again, prioritize going through storytelling and Bible challenge separate sessions individually. So you'll see when we get to our schedule here in a few minutes that each of storytelling and Bible challenge still gets their own session per lesson, and then we condense some other things. So we'll have kids pick maybe one of 3 crafts or one of 3 snacks. That way we're still giving variety, still going through all the materials, but the kids are getting that real meat of the gospel, that meat of the lesson. And that's what I was saying. Creatively schedule your craft, snack, and game times. And we also have some creative ways in this one for how you can schedule your videos as well. So you can also extend the time from our schedule. We have a pretty jam-packed schedule that we suggest here. I believe it goes like probably like from 8 to 4 p.m. If you want to extend that longer, you can. If you want to maybe break up the sessions a little bit shorter so the kids and the adults maybe will be able to rest a little bit, definitely do that. And that's what we're saying. Can be a really long day for young kids. You're going to need to adapt this for your group. This is just a starting point. But this also has great potential to be a family event. I think back when I was in college, I worked at a day camp and we had family camp on the weekends. And this format really reminds me of that family camp, that families can experience and do things and learn about Jesus together as they're going through each of those 5 sessions at Splash Canyon VBS. So let's get into it with the schedule. So the morning, you can see there's a picture from our Bible challenge, one of our little science experiments there. So 8 a.m., we recommend that you guys do a registration and maybe have a continental breakfast or something. In the breakfast, you can incorporate some of our complimentary or supplementary snacks. So we have a little lifesaver donut snack where you just take one of those powdered donuts and put little Twizzlers or little candies around it to make it look like a lifesaver. And then also our Safe in a Basket snack, which is made with fruit and Eggos waffles. So that's a really great snack for the morning. And then you'd kick off the day just like you would kick off any normal VBS, so opening with music. So focus on teaching the theme songs and then the other songs. So you're probably not going to be able to do all 8 of the original songs in a one-day VBS. So if you're a music leader, if you're the VBS director, make sure you plan these opening songs very intentionally. Just pick 1 or 2, maybe pick the easiest ones. I know there's some echo songs this year, and there's also some songs where the words of the song tell the kids how to do the actions. Focus on those, and then practice all the take-home points in one section. And again, if you have parents there, this would be a great chance. Just hand each of them the Lessons at a Glance PDF that's in your starter kit. And they can carry this with them. They can help reinforce with the kids. Even if they're not official teachers during the day, they're going to have that lesson, that real key core element with them all day on that sheet. And then also introduce the mission project in your day's opening. So this year's mission project, if you don't know already, is Mission Madagascar. So this is a program where we're working with Concordia Gospel Outreach to send books to kids overseas so they can learn about Jesus too. The church in Madagascar is really growing, but they don't have as many monetary resources as we have. They don't always have books and books like we have. So we're going to help them out. We're going to send them more books about Jesus with your help, and this will be really great. So then from 9 to 10 is our lesson 1 focus. So you can kind of condense storytelling and Bible challenge together. And just for those of you who might be new to CPH's VBS, if you don't know the difference between those two, just real quickly, storytelling is the time where the kids kind of get to reenact and act out the day's Bible story. And then Bible Challenge is a station where we focus mainly on the Bible memory verse for that day. Kids actually get in their Bibles and open up. And then as our picture over here shows, we also have kind of a fun science experiment, just really simple, that the kids can do in that Bible Challenge station. If you want to learn more about how each of those work, we're not going to go over those specifically today in our webinar, but definitely check out our YouTube channel. Our other overview webinars will tell you how each of those days storytelling and Bible challenge work out, so you can get a good preview of them. After day 1, you kind of have some games time. So you can do a choice of any of these 3. So you can make and play with our God with Us basket craft. That's from lesson 1, and that's just kind of like a foam craft that actually floats. Kids can decorate, and then they do a little boat race with. You can play River Wild, which uses that basket craft, or you could play 12 Stones, which is kind of a fun activity where kids have a bucket full of marbles and they have to kind of pick them out of the bucket and put them in another little cup with their feet or whatever. So after that, we'll get right back into the lessons. Lesson 2, storytelling and Bible challenge, and then we have lunch. At lunch, we recommend incorporating some more of the snacks, again, since we don't have a set snack site for each day. So you could do river crossing crackers, which is a graham cracker with frosting. That would be a good kind of dessert. You can do our wild ride boat or 3-in-1 veggies and dip. Both of those are more vegetable based, more appropriate for lunchtime. And then another really important thing, again, some kids eat really fast, some kids eat really slow. So make sure you have our song action videos, our mission videos in the background so that kids can always be doing something. There's not too much downtime. After lunch, we're going to go into the afternoon schedule. So we'll pick right up again with lesson 3, storytelling and Bible challenge. We'll have another time for games. So our suggested games here is our muddy river relay, where kids kind of go back and forth and have to fill up some glasses with some muddy water, and also stay together, which is our obstacle course for this year. Then we'll do our lesson 4, storytelling and Bible challenge. And then by this point in the day, we think that everybody might be a little tired, so we're going to have some downtime. We're going to have our Splash Canyon theme videos movie marathon. So you can see in my picture here are our theme video hosts, Jordy and Adam, and they do kind of silly things every day. In this one, they're actually going through, and Adam's having to guess what Jordy's putting in his hand without being able to see it. So this is a pretty funny one. I think the kids will stay engaged. And again, this would be a great time to have some snacks. We even have a snack that has some popcorn, a little trail mix. So this would be a great time to incorporate that. Then from 3:15 to 4:15, you wrap up the day's events with our lesson 5, storytelling and Bible challenge, and then end the day with some more music. So again, focus on those 2 core songs you learned in opening. And then if you have a family night celebration afterwards, make sure people know what's going on after that. So we can have dinner after that. We have a couple more snacks, a couple more crafts, and then use our director's materials for a family night celebration. Everything for this event is included in your director's guide if you have any questions about it. And you can see in my kind of bullet points of it under there, we have some more games, some more crafts that you can do just at that family night celebration. So that's the one-day VBS. Next thing we're going to go over is a weekend retreat VBS. So this would be breaking up the VBS materials into a Friday evening, all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning. So this is still more condensed than the normal VBS would be, but not as condensed as the one day that we just went over. So again, use the elementary materials. Please prioritize storytelling and Bible challenge, and then creatively schedule or snack games and crafts. Those are things that's easy to condense together. And you can always extend the time longer if you want, or condense them more if you need, and again, modify as needed. So Friday evening, everybody kind of gets there. Maybe you do this VBS at your church, or you do it at a camp or another retreat center. So schedule some time for everybody to get there, have your worship time with some music, use the opening materials for each day to guide you in that. You'll go through your lesson 1, storytelling and Bible challenge, and then just have kind of a wind down time, a nightly devotion with worship time and music, using the closing materials from day 1. End off the night with a snack, and then kids can go to bed and get ready the next morning. So Saturday morning, have your breakfast just like you did in the one day. Be sure to include a VBS snack just to keep that theme going. You might have a morning devotion with music using another day's opening materials, lesson 2, storytelling and Bible challenge. And then at 10, you'll kind of condense snacks and games together. So you can pick and choose which snacks, which games are going to work best for your group. Maybe think of having like an easy and a hard snack, or having an easier and a harder game, so that everybody can kind of choose what they want to do. You'll have your lesson 3, storytelling and Bible challenge, before lunch, and then right before lunch you'll have some more music, some more devotional thing with closing materials for lesson 3. So as you can see, this one compared to the one we just looked at has some more options where kids can learn more of the songs than they would in just a one-day VBS. Then you'll have some time for lunch, maybe a nap or two. And then right after lunch, pick it up again with a craft, and then some VBS games that you can go through. You'll do a mission project activity at 2. Something I encourage you guys to think about as you're going through this weekend retreat schedule is, how can you do a mission project where you serve other people? So it's one thing to just collect money, and that's a great way to help us. But if you're doing a weekend retreat like this, maybe find a local organization in your community and think, can you make maybe some care packages for some homeless people, or maybe can you buy books and write a little note and then distribute the books when you get back to church. In this weekend retreat format, you really have the opportunity to not only serve with your words or with your checkbook even, but to serve in action. And I think this is a really great format for getting kids to have that kind of experiential learning as they go through VBS. So after that mission project activity, your kids will have another snack. Just pick from the snack materials, and then some free time. I know when I worked at camp during the summer, free time was a really fun opportunity and something a lot of the kids looked at. So incorporate some VBS activities in that free time. But like I said earlier, especially if you have families of mixed ages here, some people might just want to chill out and hang out, and some people want to get going. So think about your leaders during this too. Maybe have one leader who's able to guide the kids in more of a quiet activity, have another leader who's able to lead games for that hour and a half up until dinner. Have different people so that however people learn, however people want to get engaged with God's word, they're able to do that while still taking care of themselves too. So 5 o'clock, just have a simple dinner, and then have a little after dinner devotion with some more music using an opening material. Have lesson 4, storytelling and Bible challenge, and then cap off the night with a nightly devotion, some more songs, and the closing materials. One other thing I'd encourage you to look at as you're picking songs for each of these music times, really focus on the purpose of the music during that time in devotion. So we have a mix between original songs and more hymn-like songs in the materials for this year. So I'd encourage you, maybe at the end of the day, end off with those more hymn-like songs, and then in the middle of the day, or when you're trying to keep people awake, use the action ones, use the ones where kids can jump up and down, so that what the kids are singing and doing reflects kind of their daily routine during the day too, right? There's probably already going to be thrown off a little, especially if you're having a retreat at somewhere that's not your church. But through the actions, through the different crafts and snacks and music you pick, you can reinforce without any words what's supposed to be going on during that time of the day. And then you can end off the night with a snack. Again, this is a great chance if you have some younger kids. They're not going to miss out on any of the key materials if they have to miss that snack, right? It's just extending the day. And you might even choose to add another element in here too. Maybe have something that the parents can do together, a Bible study or a fellowship activity after the kids go to bed. Have some time for parents to talk and to just recap the day together. It's tough sometimes for your parents and your leaders. Make sure you build that into your schedule if you're a director especially as well. So we're going to wrap up our weekend retreat, 8 a.m., have everybody get their breakfast, pack up and clean up. If you've done any of these retreats before, you know how that goes. Then cap off the retreat with lesson 5, storytelling and Bible challenge, close with another craft, and then have your final time of devotion in God's Word using the VBS closing service materials that are found in your director's guide. And then you'll get out of there probably about 11 o'clock. People can get home hopefully by noon and still have the rest of the day to go through materials. Next thing we're going to look at is our day camp VBS. So this would be, I know a lot of churches, especially churches with schools, have a summer camp that they run during the summer. This is going to show you how to do that on a daily basis. So we're going to add in more non-VBS materials or some materials. Maybe if your kids go off to a summer camp, they're used to playing these things. So this format gives you an option to dive in deeper to each lesson than you would if you only had 3 hours each night. So use the elementary materials, schedule 5 learning sessions. You might even want to have a kickoff event like a picnic to get everybody acclimated to this format. Creatively schedule your crafts, snacks, and games. And then just another consideration for this format is decide if you're going to use your DVDs in an outside location. So if this is like a day camp that's at your church or your school, the DVDs will be readily available. If not, if it's more of a traditional out in the wilderness camp setting, be sure to make good use of your music leader guide. So we have scores, guitar chords, and also reproducible lyric sheets in this day camp format, so that if you have somebody who just wants to play guitar, if you're going really low tech, you can still do this in the day camp format. And then you can also, like I was saying earlier, extend the schedule during the day with free time or other activities that you might have in that camp setting. So here's just one day's daily schedule. Arrive as the kids are getting there, have an icebreaker activity. I'm sure each of your churches has a favorite icebreaker activity like that you want to do. Start off with the day's opening. Again, in this format, you're able to learn more of the songs. You're able to have more time to actually teach the song. So when you're doing this format, it's really important that you pick leaders who are going to be really skilled at this, who know how to teach, who are excited to do those actions, and who are able to break them down day after day. Then you'll do your Bible storytelling for the day, followed by Bible challenge. You'll have a mid-morning snack. Again, this would all be for lesson 1, and then on day 2 of your day camp, you just repeat with lesson 2. And then you have some time to do a small group kind of bonding activity. So maybe the first 2 hours of that morning, everybody's all in a big group together. And then at 10:30, you kind of split everybody up into their little age groups or family groups where they can learn to grow together as a community in Christ. Then you'll have some music right before lunch and some games so kids can kind of burn off that energy. It also helps to have really active stuff like this before lunch so that kids aren't just, watching their watches or their cell phones. What are we going to eat? So you'll have lunch, and then after lunch, you can maybe, again, incorporate some rest or some free time. A really fun thing to do would be an all camp activity every day right after lunch. So I know when I worked at camp every night, like right after dinner, we would have this all camp kind of giant game that people would play. Try and think about how you can do one of those so you have a good balance between small group activities and larger group activities. So if kids have siblings, they're able to see their siblings, but they're also able to have some time by themselves. After your all camp activity, you'll have a quick music session. Again, choose 2 or 3 songs, go through those, learn them really well. You'll have some crafts. And then one thing that's always pretty fun to do in this day camp setting is to do something that involves prayer, something where kids can wind down. One way I've done this in the past has been through prayer partners. So you assign kids a friend or maybe an older mentor who they can pray with at the end of each day. This will give kids something to look forward to each day, and it also helps them if they've had a bad day or a good day. They always know that they can go to the Lord in prayer, and they can also share their burdens with their friend or with their mentor. I think this is a really cool way you can start to form relationships through VBS, and then carry those through to your church. And then you'll have your daily closing and dismissal again at 4 o'clock. So it's about 12:30 now. I'm going to keep going, but thanks for those of you who are able to stay past the time. If you're not able to stay, if you needed to jet right at 12:30, I will send out a link to this right after our webinar is over too. So the next thing we're going to go through is our mixed age group VBS. So this would be best used for churches who have smaller age groups or class sizes. So if you don't have enough people at your church where you can do rotation sites, you don't have enough people in first and second and third and fourth and fifth grade, consider mixing your age groups together. There's a lot of cool opportunities here for mentorship. It gives some of your older kids an opportunity to grow leadership skills too. So if you're a smaller church and you don't know how to do this with just the regular site rotation, you can use those same site rotation schedules. You can use the map I showed you earlier, the daily schedule, but just mix the kids up a little. So as I was saying, pair your younger students with older mentors, whether that's older students or even a teenage leader. This would give your middle school and high school kids a great way to be involved without just, kind of letting everything loose. Another consideration for this is if you have a lot of families, this would be a great way you can keep brothers and sisters together if that's what parents at your church are asking for. And then the one adaptation I would say in this mixed age group VBS is to use the True Promise leaflet for everybody. So what we have right now are an early childhood leaflet, an early elementary leaflet, and an elementary leaflet. If you choose to do this mixed age group VBS, I would say just stick with that elementary leaflet. Our editor was very careful to make sure that that format would work even if you had the little guys in there too. So that's our one recommendation. But other than that, as I said, you can use that same schedule, the same rotation style, and the same space guide. Even if you only have one group that's rotating around, you can still take them around to the different stations. You can have those same site leaders. Maybe you want to double up on site leaders, but this is a great option if you want the same VBS experience with less of kind of the overhead and less of the recruiting and space setup work. Okay, last thing we're going to talk about today is Summer Sunday School. We've had more requests for this recently. So this schedule model that we're going to look at is based off 1-hour sessions that take the course of 10 to 13 weeks. So this would be if you wanted to spread out your VBS over the entire summer at your church. So we have some options we'll go through in a minute here where we go through the 10-week minimum, but also how to work with up to 13 weeks by having opening, closing guides, maybe a family celebration at the end of the summer. So what does this look like exactly? So what you're going to do is you're going to separate between a week A schedule and a week B schedule. So instead of going through one lesson a day or one lesson a week, you're going to go through one lesson every 2 weeks. So this one especially, I would encourage you to read the materials in your director's guide. It took me reading it through a couple of times to really get what was going on here. So for week A, you would do your lesson 1 opening, lesson 1 storytelling, lesson 1 snacks, and then your lesson 1 closing. So altogether, that's 1 hour of content. And then the second week, you'd still be on lesson 1, but you'd focus on music, Bible challenge, and crafts from lesson 1. After you're done with those first 2 weeks in lesson 1, then you do 2 weeks on lesson 2, 2 weeks on lesson 3, 2 weeks on lesson lesson 4 and 5, and you can see how this adds up to 10 weeks really nicely for your church. It also is good because your leaders aren't having to go every week, or they're not having to learn everything in 1 week. They're able to kind of space out their learning too, so that it's easier for them. And you could also switch out. Maybe you have one set of volunteers for lesson 1, one set of volunteers for lesson 2, one for lesson 3. So if you have volunteers who maybe go on vacation during the summer or something like that, they're still able to participate in VBS. Not everybody has to plan their week around VBS. And then if you wanted to schedule summer Sunday school for up to 13 weeks, you could add additional weeks in. So maybe you want to have a games week where you just do music and games the whole time. This might be a great way to kick off, or maybe as a midsummer break. Maybe if it's that 4th of July weekend and you know not everybody's going to be there, schedule that games weekend so that everybody gets the core lesson material, but those who are there can still have some fun. You might have a theme video marathon where you show all 10 of the videos at once, and then you could do some games and snack. And then maybe you close the summer with a closing program where kids can show their parents what they learned at VBS. Maybe you save a couple of crafts for that, and so on and so forth. So there we go. We did it. It's about 12:35. Sorry that I went 5 minutes over. If you have any questions right now, please enter those in the chat box. While you're doing that, I'm going to put my contact information back up on the screen here. Again, I'm Anna Johnson, the marketing manager for VBS at CPH. Please do feel free to call me or email me. And then if you want to get in touch with CPH in general, there's a few ways. So one is vbsteam@cph.org. I also check that email, so don't feel like it's going into a black hole. This is something we check all the time. The phone number there under the CPH section is 800-325-3040. That's our customer service line. So if you're ready to order and you don't want to do that online, call that number. And then finally, do check out our website, splashcanyon.cph.org. You'll see an overview of our lessons. You'll get to hear previews of the music. You'll also see there's decorating and volunteer training resources there, downloads. There's tons of stuff there. So again, we didn't have time today to go through all of that material, but I definitely encourage you, check out the website, check out our blog. There's plenty of ideas, ways we're trying to support you throughout the year on there. Okay, well, it looks like we don't have any questions, so I guess I'll bid a fond farewell. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. I'll send out the recording here later this afternoon, and I hope you all have an awesome summer and awesome preparations as you get ready for Splash Canyon VBS. Bye, guys.